October 5th, 2012, Aluu, Rivers State, Nigeria. 4 university students aged 18 to 20, all first term. All were innocent, but they were burned alive. The victims pleaded for their lives throughout, but nobody stepped in. This is a true story. The Aluu Four, who were burned alive in broad daylight. Chapter 1. One of the most tragic acts of mob violence in Nigeria's modern history did not happen in the dark. It did not happen in secret. It did not happen in a remote place where no one could see. It happened on a Friday afternoon, on a road with a name, in a community with neighbors, in front of a crowd of ordinary people, and every second of it was recorded on mobile phones. This has been famously named the Aluu Four. 4 young men from the University of Port Harcourt were killed in broad daylight for a crime they did not commit. They were accused without evidence, beaten, stripped, dragged through the mud, and burnt alive while a crowd watched and a police officer stood by. If you have never heard about this story, you need to. And if you have, you need to hear it again. Let's dive in. Who were they? It is easy in a story like this to skip past the people and go straight to the event. We will not do that here because these were not just symbols or statistics. These were 4 specific young men with lives, friendships, families who loved them and expected them home. Their names: Ugonna Obuzor, 18 years old. He was a student of geology, 200 level. He was a rapper. His campus room had been broken into by robbers so many times that he often slept at his friend's place, Tekena, off campus, just to feel safe. Lloyd Toku-Mike, 19 years old. He was a civil engineering student in 200 level. He was also a rapper. He was Ugonna's creative partner. His father, Mr. Mike Toku, would wait 5 years in courtrooms to hear a judge officially clear his son's name. Tekena Elkanah, 20 years old. He was a diploma technical student. He was Ugonna's childhood friend. He was the one who always kept his door open. He had a sister who adored him and who on that terrible afternoon would be the only person in that crowd to try to stop what was happening. Chidiala Biringa, 20 years old, was a 200 level theater art student. His mother, Biringa, would later tell CNN, "If my son sees you 100 times, he will greet you 110 times. And I want the world to know that my son and his friends are innocent of what they said they did." Every single one of them was the first son of their family. They were the eldest, the one the whole household had their highest hope placed on. They were friends, occasional roommates, young men who were building something together in music, studies, and their future. On the morning of October 5th, 2012, all 4 of them were alive and planning to be back before that. But here is where events spiraled into what eventually became a horrific afternoon in Nigeria. Chapter 3. A small death. How an ordinary afternoon became something else entirely. Ugonna was owed money, not a fortune, an undisclosed amount by a man known in Aluu community as Bright. It had been nagging at Ugonna long enough that he had tracked down Bright's address. The man lived in Aluu community just outside the university campus. Ugonna decided today was the day he would collect his debt. He asked his 3 closest friends to come with him. They brought weapons: an axe, a penknife, a cutlass, not to attack but to intimidate and to make the point clear that he should be paid whatever he was owed. What happened at Bright's door that afternoon is not fully agreed upon. There are different accounts. What is not disputed is that a confrontation broke out and then Bright started screaming. He told everyone within earshot that these 4 men had come to rob him, that they were trying to steal his laptop and his phone. Whether it was a deliberate lie or a panicked misreading of tense confrontation, we may never know. What we know is what those words did. Because the Aluu community has been rattled for months by genuine armed robberies, residents were frightened and furious, and they had long concluded that they would not rely on the police to protect them. When the word robbers hit the air that afternoon, it moved like a match dropped into petrol. A vigilante group was called, but before they even arrived, the crowd was already moving. Chapter 4. Coca-Cola Street. What the crowd did and what the police did not. The 4 students ran for their lives. They were chased through narrow streets of Umokiri Aluu, pelted with sticks, with stones, with whatever the crowd could grab, and they were caught. What happened next was slow and deliberate, in the way that it made it harder to process. The students were stripped of their clothing. They were beaten until they could barely hold their heads up. Concrete slabs were dropped upon them. Then they were dragged through the mud along a road called Coca-Cola Street. This is its actual name. They were dragged to a dump site at the edge of the community. Throughout every step of it, they pleaded, they gave their names, they said they were university students, they said they were innocent, they begged anyone who could listen. No one listened. As the 4 men sat on the muddy ground, dazed and pleading for their lives, someone doused them with gasoline, lit a match, and set them on fire. This was CNN's account, November 2012. Car tires were placed around their necks and filled with petrol. This method has a name. It's called necklacing, a form of extrajudicial killing that have haunted parts of this continent for decades. It is designed to be public, it is designed to be slow, it is designed to be seen. Somebody struck a match. Nigerian police officers were present at the scene the entire time. Not one of them intervened. Not one person in the crowd moved to stop it. Multiple phones were filming throughout. The sister. But one person tried. Somewhere in the chaos of that afternoon, word reached Tekena's sister. She came. She pushed through the mass of people screaming her brother's name, screaming that they were students and they were innocent, that anyone had to stop and listen. The mob was too large. They decided too far into what it had already chosen to do. People physically overpowered her. Others told her to run for her safety. They said as though the danger was in what was the thing that mattered most. She made one last attempt. She called family members. She called the police. By the time anyone arrived, her brother and his 3 friends were already dead. The footage was uploaded to the internet before the day was out. By midnight, it had spread across Nigeria. By the following morning, the world was watching. Millions of people condemning in real time a video that had captured something that should never have been allowed to reach that particular end. The 4 young men were at the center of it until they were dead. No amount of outrage could eventually change that. Chapter 6. The aftermath. A campus in revolt and a community that vanished overnight. The University of Port Harcourt erupted. Students poured off campus in a wave of grief and fury, flooding into Aluu community, destroying properties and blocking East-West Road, one of Nigeria's most critical highways. The university shut down entirely. The irony was not lost on anyone. The protesters burned tire in the road. The same method, fire, used this time to say that it was wrong. The Aluu community emptied almost overnight. Residents fled, fearing both student reprisals and police arrests. The crowd that had watched or participated scattered. Those who stayed were taken in. But here's what the investigation found. October 5th, 2012, 4 students were lynched and videos went viral by morning. Days later, 13 suspects were arrested, including the local monarch chief Welewa and 7 police sergeants Lucky Oji. President Jonathan called it a national shame. August of 2013, trials begins at Rivers State High Court. 12 suspects were arraigned for murder. From 2013 to 2017, 4 years of delays and acquittals, the monarch and several others were discharged and families waited. By July 13, 2012, 5 years after the murders, the final verdict came. Nigerian justice system is not known for speed. What the families of these 4 young men endured in those 5 years, waiting, attending court dates, watching suspect after suspect walk freeze on technicality, is its own kind of cruelty layered on top of the original one. Chapter 7. The verdict. 5 years later, on the last day of July 2017, nearly 5 years to the day since those young men had been chased through the street of Aluu, Justice Letam Nyodi of Rivers State High Court read his final verdict. He spoke for 2.5 hours. He called the killings among the most condemnable he has ever witnessed from the bench. He named and called out the security officers who had been present at the scene and done nothing. Men whose duty was to protect the citizens of the Nigerian state. He said the victims had great hope, future for their families and for their country. Then he sentenced 3 men to death. Lucky Oji, serving police sergeant at the time of the killing, was sentenced to death. Ikechukwu Lois Amadi, known in the community as Capone, was sentenced to death. David Chinaza Ogbada, community member, was sentenced to death. In the courtroom that day was Mr. Mike Toku, the father of Lloyd, the 19-year-old civil engineering student who had gone with his friend to collect a debt and never came back. He spoke to journalists outside the courthouse. Justice has finally come the way of my children. The court has shown they were not robbers. They were innocent of all the ugly names they were called. He said he had forgiven the people who killed his son. Then he said the thing that has stayed with everyone who had followed this case, that a police sergeant, a man in uniform, paid by the state to protect his citizens, did not merely fail to stop what happened. He helped deliver the final blow. Chapter 8, the bigger picture. How does this happen in broad daylight? The question that has never gone away is this. How does something like this happen on a named street on a Friday afternoon in front of a crowd with police officers present and filmed on multiple phones, and nobody stopped it? The answer that researchers, journalists, and human rights organizations have documented again and again is this: a large portion of ordinary Nigerians have completely lost faith in the formal justice system. Courts are seen as slow, expensive, and built for those with money and connections. Police are seen not as protectors but as figures to be feared, bribed, and avoided. In that vacuum, the crowd becomes the court, the mob becomes sentence, and the fire becomes the gavel. This is not about Nigerians being uniquely violent, but about a people who have been failed completely and repeatedly by the institutions meant to protect them. That mob justice in that moment to the crowd felt like the only justice they will ever see. 391 people have been killed by mob justice in Nigeria between 2019 and May 2022 alone. This is a full decade after Aluu, which shows that the pattern has not stopped. After the Aluu Four murders, Nigerian lawmakers proposed an anti-lynching bill. In September of 2017, the same year as the verdict, the Senate passed it, criminalizing mob actions with penalties including life imprisonment, but it was never signed into law. In February of 2023, a film called Dark October, produced by Linda Ikeji and directed by Toku-Mike, arrived on Netflix. A decade after their deaths, Ugonna, Lloyd, Tekena, and Chidiala were finally reaching global audiences who had never heard their names. That same month, a young Nigerian writer published an essay in Al Jazeera. I was nearly lynched in Nigeria. Here's how I survived. In a different city, with a different accusation, with same crowd logic, same absolute certainty without a single piece of evidence, and same match already in somebody's hands. Nothing has changed yet. Chapter 9. Where things stand today. Lucky Oji, Ikechukwu Amadi, and David Ogbada remain on death row. Nigeria has maintained an unofficial moratorium on executions for many years. Whether their sentence will ever be carried out is a genuinely open-ended question. What is not an open question is this: the vast majority of people surrounded 4 men on that dump site in Aluu, who watched, cheered, filmed, stood by, and did nothing, has faced no consequences at all. They are still in the world and they still know what they did. On the morning of October 5th, 2012, 4 friends got up, left the University of Port Harcourt, walked into a community to collect a debt. They thought they would be back before dark. Their mothers thought they would call. Their fathers thought they were fine. Their names were Ugonna Obuzor, Lloyd Toku-Mike, Tekena Elkanah, Chidiala Biringa. First sons, all of them, the ones their family had most hope for. They were innocent. They said so until they could no longer speak, but it did not matter. Say their names. Thank you very much.